This is one of the geological wonders of the world, the Great Rift Valley, a breathtaking 6,500 kilometers depression in Africa, which has the East African Rift at its heart. It is so vast, it's visible even from space. On the surface, it truly is one of the most remarkable beauty spots on Earth, but the area hides a sinister secret deep below. This peaceful-looking paradise is actually one of the most violently active tectonic faults on Earth. Beneath the feet of over 120 million people, a colossal force is pulling at the very foundation of a continent. For more than 20 million years, a giant crack has been spreading down the east side of Africa, cutting through Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania, slowly but surely ripping Africa in two. In this video, we'll explore the forces of nature behind this geological powerhouse, ask whether the second largest continent in the world really is tearing itself apart, and if so, what that means for Africa. What kinds of consequences can we expect from the biggest continental reshaping event since the breakup of Pangea? Africa is splitting apart. If you were to peer into the Earth's crust in this part of the world, you'd find the African Plate, which boasts the fourth largest tectonic boundary on the planet, and that's just one of several. The African Plate is further divided into the Nubian Plate to the west, which carries most of the African continent, and the Somali Plate to the east, which carries the Horn of Africa, the easternmost tip of the landmass. But this was not always known. Until just a few decades ago, scientists believed Africa rested on a single, unified plate. It wasn't until the 1970s when geologists Kevin Burke and John F. Dewey presented compelling evidence that the world realized the so-called single-plate model didn't fit. Their findings showed that the African plate had already begun tearing apart as far back as the Cretaceous period, over 140 million years ago. The slow but relentless separation of these plates created what we now call the East African Rift System, one of the most dramatic examples of plate tectonics in action. In scientific terms, this is a divergent plate boundary, where the Earth's crust stretches and thins as two plates move away from each other. To complicate matters further, both the Nubian and Somali plates are also drifting away from the Arabian Plate to the north, forming a giant Y-shaped rift that meets in the Afar Triangle of Ethiopia, a geological triple junction. It's a place where three tectonic plates are literally pulling in three different directions, making it one of the most dynamic locations on Earth's surface. The birth of a new ocean. Africa's hidden transformation. Deep beneath the rolling savannas, the acacia-dotted plains, and the shimmering lakes of East Africa, something extraordinary is happening. It's a process so slow that you wouldn't notice it in a lifetime, yet so powerful that it will eventually reshape an entire continent. Africa, the cradle of humanity, is being torn apart. For millions of years, immense geological forces have been at work beneath the Great Rift Valley. Forces capable of reshaping coastlines, redirecting rivers, and splitting nations in two. The very ground that has supported civilizations for tens of thousands of years is now shifting, inch by inch, under an invisible tug of war. What scientists are witnessing here is continental rifting, the gradual tearing of a tectonic plate into separate pieces. It's the same process that created the Red Sea, and before that, the Atlantic Ocean, when South America and Africa drifted apart. The implication is staggering. Africa is on the path to giving birth to Earth's newest ocean. A crack in the cradle of civilization. The story begins in the Afar Triangle of northeastern Ethiopia, one of the hottest, driest, and most geologically active regions on the planet. Here, the Earth's crust is being stretched thinner than anywhere else on the continent. The land is literally splitting open. Lava seeps from fissures, volcanic cones rise from the dust, and the ground sinks to form new valleys. This is where the Somali Plate and Nubian Plate meet, in a silent but unstoppable struggle. Every year, these massive slabs of rock drift apart by 2 to 5 centimeters, about the same speed your fingernails grow. Small, yes, but across millions of years, that movement becomes monumental. Eventually, the rift will widen enough for seawater from the Indian Ocean to flood in, birthing an entirely new ocean basin. The signs are already visible. In 2005, the world got a rare glimpse of this process in real time. A massive crack, nearly 60 kilometers long, opened in Ethiopia's Afar Desert in just 10 days. Scientists watched in awe as magma rose from deep underground, pushing the crust apart to create a new piece of ocean floor. It was quite literally a new world forming before our eyes. Across the rift zone, similar activity can be seen. Earthquakes now occur more frequently as the crust stretches and breaks. Volcanoes like Oldonyo Lengai in Tanzania, the Mountain of God, erupt with rare carbonatite lava, unlike anywhere else on Earth. New lakes are appearing as land subsides, including Lake Turkana, Lake Natron, and Lake Malawi, each a scar left by the rift's pull. In 2018, heavy rainfall in Kenya revealed another dramatic sign, a massive fissure that suddenly appeared near Mai Mahiu, cutting through farmland and roads. While not the actual start of the continental split, it reminded everyone that the ground beneath East Africa is alive and moving. The clock of geology. For the people living along the rift, from Ethiopia's Danakil Depression to Mozambique's coastal plains, life continues much as it has for centuries, but deep below, the countdown is ticking. Scientists estimate that in 5 to 10 million years, the Somali Plate will fully detach, creating a new island continent surrounded by what many are already calling the African Ocean or East African Ocean. When that day comes, the map of the world will look very different. Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, and Tanzania's eastern regions will lie on one side, forming a new landmass. The rest of Africa, the Nubian Plate, will remain on the western side, separated by an ocean that didn't exist before. A rift full of life and mystery. Despite its violent undercurrents, the Great Rift Valley remains one of the most biologically rich regions on Earth. It's home to fertile farmland, crystal blue lakes teeming with flamingos, and volcanoes that rise dramatically from the plains. It's also a time capsule of human history, where some of the oldest fossils ever discovered, like Australopithecus afarensis, Lucy, were found. Many scientists believe the rift's environmental shifts, alternating between lush forests and arid grasslands, helped drive human evolution itself, forcing our ancestors to adapt, migrate, and think creatively to survive. In a sense, this great tearing of the Earth gave birth not just to landscapes, but to humanity itself. The future of Africa's rift. So is Africa tearing itself apart? Yes, but it's also transforming. The East African Rift is not a symbol of destruction, but of renewal. It's part of the Earth's grand cycle, a reminder that our planet is alive, breathing, and constantly changing. Mountains will rise where valleys now lie. Rivers will shift their paths. Entire ecosystems will evolve around the new ocean. It's the same cycle that split Pangaea, formed the Atlantic, and shaped every continent we know today. We are witnessing the continuation of a process that's been happening for billions of years. A quiet but relentless dance of creation through destruction. One day, millions of years from now, a traveler might stand on the shores of this newborn sea, the youngest ocean on Earth, and gaze across the water toward what was once the African continent. And in that moment, they'll be looking at the living proof that our planet never stands still.